So this is a slightly different video to usual. Sunlu have sent over this filament splicer or connector for me to look at. If you've been around this channel for long enough, then you'll remember I tried a filament splicer before and...
Just don't think that's going to go through the Bowden, do you? It is stuck together pretty... well, it's not even stuck together pretty well.
It went disastrously. That was probably about 2 years ago, and I still maintain that that filament splicer was terrible, even though I've had plenty of comments telling me that I was terrible. Both can be true. This time though, Sunlu are sponsoring this video, so I thought the best way to do this would be to show you it live for fairness, so you can see that I'm not in some way editing the footage of joining the filament. I did try doing it live for the first time, as in just opening the box and trying it, but I hadn't read the instructions and it went terribly, so I don't see how that would cut it. Okay. So something has happened in there. It's a bit floppy. So we hold it. I don't know, are we supposed to put it in there? And smush it down? That was due to, unsurprisingly, not having read the instructions. So now I have read the instructions and I have had a couple of goes at it, so I'm not going to make an absolute fool of myself, or maybe I am. So this is the filament joiner in question. It's got a clear door on the top, which you generally keep open while you're joining the filament. It's got another door inside that kind of protects you from the heating element. The heating element is there. It's cold at the moment, but yep, that gets hot. It's got a little thingy there. Can you see that? Probably not for my finger. It's like a button. That's how it knows when this door is closed, and that starts and stops the timer. In order to join filament, you have to actually prepare it, which means you have to cut it diagonally, or at least that's recommended. So you cut both pieces diagonally, and then you have to use one of the provided PTFE tubes. These are actually thinner than usual. These are not like the same thickness as the PTFE that your Bowden tube is made of. You get a lot of these, and I'll show you how you can use them more than once, because I already tested that you can, and you can. So you want to align the cuts that you've made as best as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get as close as you can. And then we're ready to go, but we need to plug this thing in. It takes a USB, and I've already, or rather it comes with a cable that's USB on one end. I've already plugged that in at the other end. So when you turn it on, it's in its sort of off standby state. It's a touch screen, and to change the values, it will automatically, when you press the on button, it will automatically start heating up. If you press the play button, weirdly, that's to allow you to change the parameters. So PLA, ABS, PTG, PA, PCL. PCL is an odd one, but I personally like 175 for PLA. I think the default was 185. I found it a bit hot. The next thing you have to do is just wait for it to preheat, and when it has got to the right temperature, it will. Okay. So now it's beeped. You can open it up, and this bit inside is hot, so don't even think about touching it. What you want to do is you want to align your joint, not the tube, but the joint within it, with the metal plate, and just close it and wait. And it will beep again after a few seconds, like so. And then you can carefully, because it's now molten, you can take it out. And it doesn't hurt to sort of push it together a tiny bit with just a tiny bit of pressure while it cools down. Now, once it's cooled down sufficiently, you've got two choices. You can either put the filament in here and it will cut the sleeve off, and I'll show you that first. You stick that in there and you make sure everything else is clear, and there is a blade inside the bottom of here, and this pushes down on the blade when you close the lid. So you just kind of close the lid and you hear it like kind of make a crackling noise, pull it back up, and it should have perforated, and then you can just remove that. But that is, in my view, even though I think these tubes are quite cheap, it is quite a, wasteful way of doing it, especially when most of the time, at least on PLA, there we go, most of the time, at least on PLA, you can reuse them. So I'll show you the joint. I'll show you these macro in a minute. So if I want to join another piece and save the PTFE tube, I will just once again cut it diagonally, being quite careful when you remove it because it's molten. Hold it slightly together while it cools down. As it cools down, it stops being so floppy. And then when it's cool enough, what you can do is just slide off the tube, and then you can use that again. And I've used these for like 10 or more times for one tube, so it's definitely worth trying that if you can. So that is all of the live kind of unscripted stuff that I want to do, and I'm sure it's all the unscripted stuff that you wanted to listen to, so we'll go back to the usual kind of format.
Well, that was fun. Before we continue, I want to show you this filament Sunlu have sent me. This is actually new, and they're calling it PLA Plus 2.0. And I have two reels, and these colours are really nice, actually. It claims to be neatly wound, and broadly speaking, it seems to be, and it claims to be 10 times stronger than PLA, which I can't really objectively test, so we'll have to trust them on that. I'm going to use these two reels to make alternating colours in PLA Plus 2.0, and we'll print that in vase mode and we'll see what happens. I'm sure it's entirely predictable, but we'll do it anyway. Of course, something we all want to see is close-ups of the actual joints that were made with the filament connector, so here they are. One thing I noticed is if you do a good joint, then it's very good indeed. As you can see, these are some really robust joints. The most important thing seems to be to make sure that you're matching the angles of the two pieces. When you see an inferior joint, that's on you, because you haven't aligned the slopes of the filaments properly. And this is a weaker joint, like this one, where I just haven't managed to align it properly, or I didn't match the cuts. In extreme cases, of course, it can just fail anyway. So yeah, you have to make sure that the joints are the right shape to fit each other if you want this filament connector to do a good job.
One thing I have noticed is that when you join these filament pieces, your instinct is to end up with a shape like this. It's like an S shape. That is actually not terribly useful if you want to wind it onto a reel, because you've got this internal stress that you're trying to wind round, and that makes it more likely to break. You're actually better off cutting it so that the diagonals go opposite ways around the curve, if that makes sense. And then when you join it, you get that shape, and then that will wind back onto the reel. I'll show you. Like that, you see?
Let me know in the description what you think of the filament and the connector, or both, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.